Welcome back to another episode of TVGP's We Roguelike It, show where I have roped Moon into playing a bunch of farming games. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Moonpeer.
Hi.
We're playing Atomicrops this time for this month of
Yes.
July. We're playing some Atomicrops.
August.
Yes. I have played so much of this game this past week. This game is, one, not what I thought it was going to be, and two, stupid good.
Yeah, minor spoiler alert. If you haven't tried this out, maybe go give it a shot because, oh boy.
The tutorial is very short, and you will know if you like it by the end of the... I don't know, tutorial took me maybe 15 minutes.
3 minutes?
Yeah, like it is not super long, and it actually does leave you pretty well equipped to dive into the game, which is pretty nice.
Can we talk about the animated intro? How good that is?
I was having a really great time watching it until the bomb goes off and the dude melts, and I was realizing my kid was watching it, and I was like, oh, okay, skipping the rest of this. Yeah. It's very, very, very good, though.
Nothing bad ever happens around here, Boston.
That's right. Non-stop laughing. So good. Yeah, and this does turn out to be a farming roguelike, after all. It is
exactly what it says on the tin, but it's also not what it says on the tin at the same time.
Yeah, it's probably the most opposite side of the coin from Stardew Valley. Like, if you want a Stardew Valley that was moving and you had a time limit and you're doing 15 things at once while farming, Atomicrops is your game.
Bullet hell mixes in there too.
Yeah, like it is. I think part of the reason why I've been playing this so much is each stage is so short. They're typically 3 minutes, 5 minutes sometimes. If you're at the point I'm at, each day is getting longer because I'm getting more waves at the end of a day. But part of it is that each day is pretty short.
So we should back this up a little bit, so you don't have to explain this all the way.
Yeah.
All right, so basically you start each season, quote unquote, is broken down into 3 days.
Right.
On each of those 3 days, you can farm, which is to till the soil, dig the soil out to tillable, plant the seeds, water the seeds, and you can go gather seeds, which are in different biomes scattered around the farm in different locations.
And each cardinal location has one.
Yes, so that you go in there, you can gather seeds, you can plant them on the farm, and then during the nighttime, your farm essentially is invaded by a bunch of hungry nuclear monsters who want to eat all your crops because it's food.
Also, like the little word that pops up when they're eating the crops of nom and yum is really good.
Yes. And then at the end of each season, which is the 3 days, you get a boss fight, and then you go back to the town, and the mayor of the town gives you a summation of how you did during that season, and then rewards you appropriately.
Hopefully a bunch of rewards barf out of the mayor, and you scoop them all up.
And that is the basic rundown of the game. What I haven't mentioned is things like you can upgrade each biome's crops, so they do different types of crops. When you plant 4 in a range of each other, they will occasionally turn into giant versions of the same crops.
If you plant 4 and then fertilize them, they'll grow into a giant version with a much larger face.
And then, like, each biome has limited resources. There's like little camps. You go clear out the camp, you get a reward for clearing out that camp. And then you can fix a bridge to go to a further version of that biome.
A much harder version.
Considerably more difficult.
Yeah.
And at the end of each day you get money, which is actually currency. I can't remember what it's called.
It's walnuts.
I don't think it's walnuts.
Or cashews?
Cashews.
Cashews.
Yeah, it's cashews because you get a cashew. Cash.
When the game first popped up and it's like, not enough cashews, I was like, oh, that's what those are. Yeah, now I see it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the achievements in this game are hilarious, by the way.
Yes, they're all very punny.
Cashew out.
Yes.
Cashew on the flip side. Cashew is king. My personal favorite is bison détruire, which is to kill 100 bison in one run,
Yep,
which is
that one's
the
really good.
giant flying bisons that exist.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what year are you on?
One, dude. I haven't even made it through one winter yet.
Have you? Oh, okay, so you haven't fought the final boss yet?
No.
Okay, I'm on year 5.
Jesus, dude. You did play a lot.
Well, and it took me a couple of runs for me to figure out what I was doing, because the tutorial is really good, but once you get in the game, I had a really hard time. I was 99% sure the game was lying to me, because when you start a new day, the game says your crops are safe until night, and then it spawns enemies. And I was like, well, that's not true. There are enemies here, but they're not enemies that are going to eat your crops. Yeah, they're attacking me, not my crops. So I was trying to farm and fight and protect and do all this stuff, and you don't have to do that. Your main goal is go out and forage for stuff to plant and grow more crops so you can get more money, so you can get all these upgrades. So that was kind of a big step for me to figure out, like, I usually start out, especially now because I can get energized faster, like much faster. I usually plant a whole bunch of stuff, let all of my animals take care of it, because my biggest upgrade is, like, I want to get cows as soon as I can. I want to try and
cows are so important.
Cows are so good, especially when you get an upgrade that they can water more stuff and they move faster. Or the ones...
Is that the grass-fed cow?
No, grass-fed cows are just better at everything, but there's an upgrade where they carry more water and they can... so, like, all of your cows get upgraded, including the grass-fed ones.
Yeah, like one of those random pickups you get.
Yeah, the one that's even better is the one that puts a turret on the back of cows and pigs.
What?
That one's really good, because you have a mobile watering and turret firing station. The cows, pigs, and chickens are all really good, because they all... It's a really smart...
You need.
Yeah, and it's like a really smart way of doing automation. Because it's like, well, now I have one that clears up weeds, I have one that digs and tills the soil, I have one that waters, so, like, I can just plant a bunch of stuff and
lay
leave.
Eggs that you can pick up too.
Yep, and there is an upgrade that you can pick up every once in a while where the eggs will hatch into different things. And one of the secret best pickups in this game is turning bees into pollinators for plants, or for flowers. So they'll turn your weeds into flowers, and each flower gives you like a minimum of 15 or 20 cashews every time you walk past them. Just the amount of money you can get is pretty wild.
Yeah.
But once I figured that out and I started exploring the 4 different areas more aggressively, for me, that's when the game really clicked, because you start getting those upgrades you were talking about. Start getting a ton more seed, a ton more fertilizer, way more roses, because
the upgrades for the strangers in the town after each day.
Right. There's 2 systems I kind of don't like. One of them is the strangers in the town. I did, at the end of one of my runs, it was either year 3 or year 4. Year 5 is really hard, so I haven't finished that yet. I got one of the strangers all the way up to the point where we got married, and they actually came back with me to my farm and had essentially... they were shooting stuff with me. They were, like, attached at the hip with me, and they were firing at everything I was firing at. So that was very strong. But I don't like that it seems like the strangers you get are random every time you go back. So, like, if you want to focus on one of them, they might not always show up, because there's more than 2 of them that can show up.
Yeah, and they might not always have the same items that you want to.
Exactly, right. only other thing that I find really frustrating is I think a lot of the weapons really suck. Like they're
Yeah,
really
the
bad.
butcher's knife might be one of the worst weapons I've ever used in a video game ever.
I think the squirrel is actually worse than that.
I haven't used the squirrel yet.
I'm not gonna spoil it for because you might like the squirrel. The butcher knife is not that bad if you can get a higher level one, but so many of them are so bad. Like the sriracha soaker is really it's a flamethrower, and somehow they made it bad. Um, I do the thing I do really like about the weapons though. Like I really like the minigun, and the one I like the most is
Oh, the minigun is great. The spud gun is one of my favorites
that's
too.
my favorite one. It's just like an assault
It's like
rifle.
the pea shooter, except it's got much better range.
Yeah, it actually has range. What I
Uh-huh.
really like is when you go buy a weapon, it will show you here are the number of mods on it, and here are the bonuses it will give you. So maybe you'll get 2 bonus to attack, maybe you'll get 3 bonus to farming. So you have a really good idea of how strong this thing is going to be. Like if you go and you spend 7,500 cashews on a spud gun,
Yeah.
it better have those 4 mods on it because I'm spending a ton of money, and those 4 mods are going to be one of the ones I got had increased range, increased damage, homing shots, and electric shots. So every time I killed an enemy, no matter how big or small,
It did the chain
electricity
lightning.
arced to all of the enemies in the region. It's like, cool, I'm going to win this run.
I got a really good perk with the weeds, where anytime a weed was cleared, it did the same thing and it fired lightning around everybody.
Oh,
And
that's
that
great.
happened whether I cleared it or the chickens did.
Oh,
So
that's great.
it was like
Man.
the chickens during the wave phase. I was just standing in the middle, clearing all of the weeds out of the bits that I hadn't had the thing for. And then the enemies would come in and just get lightning chained all over the
Yep.
place. It was fantastic. I still am getting used to the what are they called? The tractor system.
Yeah. It's weird.
It's interesting, but it's weird.
Yeah.
I did find one which was called the Omega Tractor, which I just got randomly as a drop, and it when you click the right stick, usually you choose the path it runs, and then it runs in that path and does some stuff. This one didn't have a path; it just had a giant nuke sign.
Okay.
And wherever it hit, it increased the tillable land near the thing. Any that was exposed but not tilled, it tilled.
Oh, wow.
It also fertilized and watered every single thing in my crops.
Okay. Wow.
And it did enemy damage. So if it landed on enemies, it killed them. It was just like, okay, so this is the best tractor in the game, right? And
yeah, the one I've been using the most is actually the drill one, and I don't use it in my farm. I actually use it out.
Use it to return.
Yeah, I use it to return because that way I can wait until like literally the last second and get every second out of exploring. Hit that thing, hop in that little tunnel it makes, get back to my farm, and then defend it at that point.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I unfortunately have started running into champion enemies now. Now that I'm at higher difficulties, I'm really struggling with year 5. This is the halfway point of the game. The difficulties ramped up pretty seriously. I think my only thing that I guess I need to figure out, we're still early on, so I'm obviously not like looking at a wiki or anything, is I feel like by the time I get to the end of the game, because you go through all 4 seasons and then you fight a boss battle at the end, once I kind of get to winter, if I've made it to that point, at this point in the game with all the upgrades I have, once you get to that point, I kind of don't need to go into the second level of exploring out there, because usually with my upgrades I'm getting seeds from stuff, I'm getting all these bonuses, all my animals are taking care of everything, or I'm in such dire straits damage-wise that I can't fight anything there. I mean, it kills me too quickly, so I feel like I haven't found that middle ground yet of being able to take the next step to the second tier of difficulty out in the 4 areas. That's the only thing that's kind of frustrating me right now.
I tried that once and immediately got worked. Like,
right.
I was like, oh, I got 700 cashews. I'm just going to experiment and like fix this bridge and see how it goes. Well, boy, did it not go great.
Immediately it goes so wrong. And like, I've had a run or two where I can go there and I just murder everything in that second area. But because I'm so strong at that point, I don't really need anything that they give me. I think the thing you're supposed to go do is go in there and get some of the permanent upgrades or some of the permanent people either back in the city, in between your days, or back on your farm between runs. Because there's a bunch of people you can unlock on your farm between runs. Those are really good. Like, I've unlocked a couple of people that I can spend the cornucopia at to do meta progression and meta upgrades.
Yeah, I got the fire ants. That's one set I got.
Yep. Yeah. So there's still plenty of stuff to learn, which is exciting because I've played too much of it this week. My whole family is, including myself, is sick, so it's kind of a good thing to say like, yeah, I'm just gonna play a pausable game that I can do a run in and kind of be done. But I have played a lot, and it feels like I'm kind of only scratching the surface here, which is exciting.
Yeah. Like, so far, this seems to be genuinely a fun, stupid little game. Like, I did not think this would combine the elements so well between between the two gameplay styles. But I think the way they've done it is unique enough, and probably the only way it could be done in it as a roguelike, maybe.
Yeah, and like, I think there were some growing pains for me at the very least of like, I'm playing on PS5, I'm sure you're playing on your Series X. So we're not playing on PC, where the farming is probably a little bit better of specifically picking a tile that you want to work on. It's a little hard to figure out how to get that all going on console, but once you get your head around it, you can kind of do it as quickly as you want. So there was some growing pains, but I've been very pleasantly surprised at how good it is, how well it controls. Really wish the load times were better on console. The load times, even when you're going back to your farm after a day, like every day you go back to the city and then you go back to your farm, those load times are still pretty long.
I don't even know if I noticed that, to be honest. I might have to look at that.
Maybe it's a PS4 only thing. But those load times were a little bit too spicy, but it doesn't really ruin anything. Thankfully, I'm still having a blast with it, and I've been, every time I'm sitting down at my console this week has been a lot of like, yeah, I'll just play Atomicrops. Why not? I could play some other stuff, but I'll do a run or two.
I literally had the one more run show up the other day, where I was just like, hey, it's 11:30. I can do one more run, and then I'm going to go to bed.
Especially for
2
me,
a.m. later.
When I'm like, I finished year 2. Maybe I'll just start on year 3. I finished year 3. Well, I could just start on year 4. Why not? That's gotten me into a lot of trouble of like, I got to start year 5, right? I mean, I got to see what the new stuff is. So, yeah, Atomicrops is real good. I want to go play that.
Yeah. And I should say as well, like, I love the style of this. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of cutesy cartoon Stardew Valley kind of art style, but it's got that grim, grimy, dirty, like,
it's like kind of gross cute.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really well done. Also, I do like the fact that the moon chases you, by the way.
Yeah, when you get a bad moon and it's chasing after you, chomping at you, is pretty good. Because I didn't get the bad moon for a while, because every time you'd get the moon, it'd be like, it would say like, go back to your farm and relax. And you get all those like balloons that pop up, and you get a whole bunch of fertilizer. I'm like, yeah, great, I can chill with this. And then the moon started chomping at me, and that was a rough run. Oh man, yeah, the Atomicrops is really great. I really highly recommend it. So far at this point, I sometimes we get one of these games where you know, it's like pulling teeth to get us to play it, but I really don't feel like that for this one.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you're playing Atomicrops with us, and if you're not, thank you for listening.
You should definitely give it a try. If they have a demo, definitely do that.
Yeah, and even if they don't have a demo, I think I spent $15 for the game and the 2 DLC packs. So like that's pretty cheap for a game that seems like it has a ton in it. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We'll see you all next run. Bye.
Bye.